well, it's actually 4 realities. We can have a null point, which is kind of a standalone point without any components attached to it. So it's kind of its own little thing. Within that, as well as our regular points, we get constrained points, we get partially constrained points, we get unconstrained points. And again, this logic here is defined by the relationships between those points in the constraints. I showed that EOP left. Now, since this is now my new starting point, I need this point to behave based on that versus this point to behave based on this one. So to do that, I need to remove the constraints from here and add some constraints here. Go ahead, right-click on my EOP left, and there's an opportunity to just delete constraints. So I'm going to delete both of the constraints out of here. Now we'll see that that point actually turns green. So it's actually fully unconstrained. It's going to show up at 0.00 in the template, regardless of whatever else is happening. Right now, this is going to show up at 12.24, right? So 12.24, regardless of what's going on. Actually, it's a little bit higher than that because it's 18, so 3.6 there. Anyway, so it's going to come on out there. Oh no, this is my 12. Anyway, so I need to now give this some constraints back to that. Do that by double-clicking on it, or right-click Edit, and I'm going to add constraints. Little quick nuance about this dialog box. There is an apply button up there. As I add content, there are certain changes here that will reset content down below. So when I work in this dialog box, I work as I read, left to right, and then down. So I'm going to go set this as a horizontal constraint. So I'm going to come out some distance. I'm going to go set this as a slope constraint. Whoops, that's a vector offset. There's my slope. Go select the parents. We're going to point this back to the EOP left point. So I can either select that out of the dropdown. So there's my EOP left. Or with the icon on the right, it'll actually allow me to select it out of the canvas. So either way, I would like to do that. Now, since this point was already there, it already took the values for me. So I'm just going to confirm them and make sure they're good. 12 and 2 is great because we're going to go and use this point, move it around to be what I want. I do this workflow because if you change this value here and then change this constraint, this value will reset if you haven't hit apply in between. So, and not catastrophic, just know if I adjust this value and don't hit apply and change this, it's going to reset that value. Similarly, if I change this, it'll reset this if I have enough. Okay, so horizontal to the EOP left, slope to the EOP left. The value should come in because it's just looking at where it already is. If I want something different, I can do that. We'll go and hit apply and close. Anytime I make a substantive change to a template, I'm going to want to test that and make sure that it's behaving how I expect. What we're going to do with this template, we're going to take that EOP left point, we're going to put it on the return geometry I've already created, and then I'm going to take this point here and I'm going to move it around to match what I want. So before I get out of here, I'm going to just make sure that this single constraint change that I made is covering what I want. I'm going to right-click on here. I'm going to test the point controls for this, and I'm going to do, we'll test all. And what I'm looking for, I just want to make sure that this content here is coming along. Okay, so as I go up and down, okay, we come on in. Now there is one thing, this workflow you do need to be aware of. Division by 0. For any of you who have spent any time doing any math, can be problematic. Depending on how this content is set up, there are circumstances where as I bring this into my pavement, this will actually blow up and it'll actually give you a curve that shoots down to 0 or something. So if you do see something like that, what you're probably needing to do is check for vector offset constraints on the outside there. I think I fixed this last time I trained on it. We'll see in just a minute. Okay, I wanted to hit close. Before I do that, let's just be safe and hit that save, and we'll close on it. Anybody need a hand on their template?